We have a fella across here. I'm going to tell you right now, he's hard to tie down. Mr. Dave Becker. Glad you're here.
It's good to be here finally. I'm quite impressed with everything I've seen. I tell you, I knew you had a lot going on out here, but this is more than I could have possibly imagined.
We do have a few things happening out here, don't we, bud?
Indeed.
Well, you know what, man? I consider you a gentleman and a scholar, and sometimes road agent. I'm not sure, but you're a heck of a guy to know. I'll tell you that.
I've managed to occupy a lot of titles.
Well, listen. Is there anything special going on in your live recording or playing or something you'd like to know?
We've got a new album underway right now. We've got 5 songs done, 4 are in the works. Well, I say an album. I think what we're going to do this time is release them as singles and then compile it as an album at the end. But we're a good ways down the track on that, and looking forward to getting those out. And the first album we did has I don't know. I guess it's kind of run its cycle.
Right.
It's time for us to get something else out, and we keep a good stack of logs out behind the shed, and it's time to get a few of them out and light them up.
You got a name for the album yet?
No.
Not yet.
No, the next album.
The next album.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good name.
Yeah.
Well, what else? What else can you share with us?
We've got a lot of little gigs going around town, and every year one of our highlights is going to Old Settlers Festival outside of Austin.
Right.
So we'll be heading out there next week, be out there all week. So anybody that goes out there, I'll see you there. If you haven't been going, well, you ought to.
You ought to, yeah. All right. Well, that sounds pretty cool. I know you are a busy fella. You stay hooked up. I see you all over the place, man.
We have since I got back serious to playing. I think we've played in 9 states and 3 countries.
And how's retirement?
I'm working harder now, but it's working on what I really wanted to do. So.
All right. So the way the podcast works, and I say it every one of these that all of our stories are similar, familiar maybe, but every one of them are different. Our exposure to certain things in life and how we've been able to manage that. So I ask the same questions to everybody. And I can tell you right now, some of them, they kind of line up, but there's a whole lot that have been coming out of all this. So it's your turn. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, and some of these are easy, and some of them
well, that's all right. I'll scratch my head a little bit and then come up with some kind of answer.
Okay, good enough. So how long have you been in this music world, this music industry? When did you start?
Well, I started seriously playing with the idea of performing at 12 years old.
Okay.
But I've always been around music. My family were musical people and loved music. Not performing so much. It's just we always had music on in the house.
Right.
Mom and Dad both loved music, danced in the kitchen. I can see them right now. And it's been something
what a blessing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And singing in church when I was a kid, Dad just assumed I was going to be a baritone or a bass, and so he would always try to keep me on the low notes and on the bass clef, and that isn't what I turned out to be. He also had me in a boxing ring, and he had me on the back of bulls, and I wasn't a rodeo guy or a boxer either.
But you turned out to be a pretty good singer.
We had different talents. It just took him a while to figure out which ones to help me pursue.
That's a cool story, buddy. So your influence is pretty much, like you said, your family and just kind of how you grew up then.
Yeah.
Did you have any other influences out there, something that really spoke to you? Or?
I guess, there were lots, but kids on my block had older brothers, and they were always getting the latest album, and we would go over and listen to the new music with the older kids. That I learned a lot about what modern music was. That way, I had a cousin who was a performing artist as a percussionist, and when he would come home, he would always have the drums in his car, and I'd beg him to get them out, and we'd get the drums out.
Make some noise, huh?
Make some noise, and so he was a big influence for sure. We started our first band pretty much right after I got my first guitar, and none of us knew any songs. So what did we do? We made up stuff.
Ooh.
And that was the beginning of songwriting for me.
Wow.
We didn't know anything else, so we made things up. And it was really just whatever a 12 or 13-year-old could make up. They were silly, they were dumb. But I didn't know at the time I was laying the foundation.
Freight train was moving.
For what I would do for the rest of my life is make up songs.
Wow. That's cool. That's awesome. That is awesome. I can recall when you say that you brought back, some nostalgia for me with that business about, the bigger kid or the brother, having the album. I can remember the first time I heard a Creedence album. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The world just changed, didn't it?
Yeah, that's where I heard Creedence the first time. Was the older brother of my friend across the street,
and the whole landscape just changed, didn't
Absolutely. It's like, man, I never heard anything like that.
All right, well, so in this world we live in and move through, and who do you really feel like are the influencers, people that really make things happen, or you see being an integral part of helping this music thing move along?
Well, for me personally, it's just spousal support.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say immediately that it wouldn't happen if my wife didn't support it.
Right.
But other than that, it's people just like you. It's the rest of my old guys crowd and young guys too. I've got a lot of young musician friends, and I learned so much from them. They're very inspiring to me. I hope I help them out. I always try to and want to, but they have no idea how much I'm getting from their involvement in conversations and watching what they're doing. They've heard a whole different set of music growing up than I have, and they've got different ideas of what a cool chord progression looks like.
Isn't music a wonderful ground to be on with folks?
It is. It just dissolves all kinds of barriers.
That does. All right. So you kind of spilled the beans a little bit, but that's okay. What are your contributions? What is it? What part do you play in all of this? Where do you see yourself?
Well, I think for me that I'm trying to get out a statement of what have I heard in my journey through life.
Wow.
I don't have a very easily defined genre of music. It's more of a melting pot of things that I've lived long enough to listen to.
Right.
And when I go out and play, I like to give people something different to hear. I know when I walk in, they're going to not know what kind of music this is. And the most common question that we get at the end of a show is, what kind of music is this?
Yeah.
And we don't have a real good answer. I usually answer something like, it's free range music. And that to me describes what I do. I don't know if it's not a genre name, but if you had to put it in something, I guess it'd be Americana. But
well,
it's
I was going to say that what I'm hearing you say is there's a whole lot of Americana in that.
Yeah.
Because it's like you said, it's the melting pot thing.
It's a melting pot. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, I've heard you play, and I like your stuff, man. I mean, you're a good storyteller, and that's an important part of it. So, all right. Well, how about collaboration? And I know there's collaboration where you're playing with, an individual or a band, and I know that kind of stuff. But and the reason I asked this question about collaboration to everybody, and it's not as simple as it seems, because there's some people that they either feel like they're not far enough along, that they feel like that they're lacking and they don't want to embarrass themselves, or they're so far running ahead of the crowd they don't want to be tied. There's so many reasons why people do not really hook up with other folks. Do you collaborate with other people, or is that something you're wanting to do, or you've done, or where are you at with that?
I've done a lot of it. I enjoy it. I would say that the result in terms of hard product, meaning a finished song, has been mixed. Sometimes we end up with something that I love. Sometimes the other person ends up something that they love, but I don't.
Yeah.
And then sometimes everybody's happy. It's been good though, because it's a big brotherhood or a big family that we're all part of in this music business, and just getting to know someone is enjoyable. Yeah. And there's no better way to get to know another person in terms of their musical self than sitting down and trying to create music with them. And it's just been wonderful. I've certainly had tremendous growth and benefit from interacting with other people. I never miss a chance.
Right.
Even if I go in thinking, well, I'm not going to get something out of this, I go with it into it with 100% anyway, because I'm usually wrong if I think it's not going to be good.
Well, and I know we've experienced this in so many different things that, it's happened in our lives. One of them that comes to my mind is back in the day, I used to love to play racquetball, but I was very intimidated about my ability, because I'm watching some of these guys, and I mean, they're smacking that ball that far off of the floor, and it's dying 4 inches out. It's like, there's just no way I can play with these guys. And, and through good graces of some of those guys, they're the ones that say, come on. I can't play you, man. That's not what this is about. But having that kind of mentorship, and like you were saying, like earlier, that's an awesome thing, because pretty soon, all of a sudden, you're going, oh, I get it. This works. So bless your heart. I appreciate your answer that way, man. Okay. The biggest success that you would deem, or maybe the biggest missed opportunity that you feel like, oh man, just missed that boat, or something great happened. It's your story. You tell me.
All right. Well, I can answer both of those real quick. The biggest missed opportunity for me was the middle part of my life not continuing to play. I got so busy raising kids and paying the bills and just trying to be a good husband and a good father, which I'm proud of that. I wouldn't undo that. But I was so busy that I didn't make time for music. And I always thought, the guitar's right there under the bed. I'm going to get it out tomorrow night. And somehow the years just slipped by.
Don't they?
And I woke up one day and thought, man, if I don't get it out quick, I'm not going to get it out. So that's my missed opportunity, without a doubt. Right. I should have just been a little bit more disciplined and never, completely turned loose like I did. In terms of success, I think it's the other half of that coin. I did get back into music. And whether I sell a song or somebody else plays one of my songs, or I just play in small bars to some willing ears, it's all good news. The fact that I'm doing it at all is the win.
Right. Yeah. I tell you what, those are small blessings, aren't they? But you realize how great a blessing that they are.
Yep, no doubt about it.
Wow. All right, my friend. All right. Well, Howard Napkin withstanding, what's your funniest or your saddest story? I had to get Howard's name in here.
Yeah, Happy Hour Howard, we call him.
Hi, Howard.
or we sometimes just refer to him lovingly as Uncle Howard.
Uncle Howard, yeah. I've heard that.
So Howard is a fiddle player deluxe that I came to know through a mutual friend.
Right.
And he and I were both kind of at a transition phase in our lives, and really just trying to get together and make a little music, and have some fun. But we realized real quick that we had chemistry, and we really did exactly like I did at 12 years old. We didn't know a song that the other one knew, and so we made something up.
Things started happening.
Yeah, and we've been at it ever since.
All right, so go back to this. What's your funniest or your saddest story? Which one you want to tell?
Well, I don't have very many sad stories, thankfully. Well, my happiest story is not necessarily a music one, but I became a grandfather just a few years ago, and it's the best job I've had yet.
Uh-huh.
So that's definitely my happiest one. I've got 2 little granddaughters right now, and hopefully I'll have some more somewhere along the way. But that has been the greatest thing yet.
You know, if your heart's right and everywhere, it comes out in the music later on.
It does. Oh, I've got grandbaby songs already. Yeah.
I bet you do, buddy. I bet you do.
I just got back from visiting one of them, and we played our version of the Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round.
Uh-oh.
Only it's the grandbaby runs around and around, don't fall down, and she runs around in circles until she gets too dizzy and flops on the floor, and we have a good laugh, and then she says, "Do it again, Papa."
There you go. Yeah. All right, that's cool. That's cool, man. All right. I asked this question, and that once again, you know, I've always put a caveat out here. This isn't about, you know, pointing out to anybody or any venue or any situation, but it's one of those things about what upsets you about what we do. It's kind of just like that feeling, man, I just wish it would be different, or I wish somebody would do something. Whatever it is, what upsets you about what we do?
Well, I think, and this could kind of, I guess, be an answer to the sad thing. The thing that I'm most unhappy with in the music world today is how difficult it is for a small-time musician and writer to be heard.
Yes.
To find those ears.
Right.
It's very difficult. And thankfully there are some venues that try to emphasize local talent or lesser-known talent, but it's hard to get out and show what you've done. If you're a visual artist and you paint paintings, you can put them up on a wall somewhere. You can find a gallery. You can go to a market and get a stand and put it out. But you don't have an easy way for people to hear your music. And it's not that you can't put it out on the internet and somebody might hear it. That's okay, but there's something special whenever you're playing face-to-face with someone.
Yes.
And that is too hard. That is too hard to find.
It is. I mean, I know you know this and as well as I, being, you know, kind of guys that we are and what we do here, but the places that, you know, you could say that are, let's say, songwriter friendly. And I'm not talking about open mics and things like, I mean, you know, you can chase those if you want, but if you're wanting to really do a finite, you know, you're really wanting to put it out there and you're showing people your show and your songs and your stories and stuff like that, to have that venue, it's hard. There's not that many.
There's not that many.
You could name them, I mean, probably on one hand right now.
And the ones that have really, and thanks to all of them, the ones that have really made it their business to go into that line of work have an endless list of people waiting to get in.
Yes.
So the supply is just way bigger than the demand.
It is.
Or the venues.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, buddy. I really am. I feel the same way about that. The next part of this questioning has to deal with organizations, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, Texas Country Music of Texas. There's so many associations. And the reason that I asked the question is, and I feel that some of them are we'll say standard. A songwriter needs BMI, or, you know, and your performance venues need ASCAP, you know, and CSAC and all this other stuff. But what organizations do you use or have you approached?
Well, I'm a BMI songwriter,
Right.
artist, and I've been members of several other organizations off and on. I would say that at my level of performance, it isn't really a big part of what I do.
Yeah.
If I was selling a lot of music online, if I was a big Spotify artist and had a lot of spins going, things start mattering more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as long as I'm playing like I'm doing now, which is, we hit festivals when we can. That's my favorite venues to play sometimes, just because you get a lot of people there, and I don't have to play that long. It's not that I don't enjoy playing, but you get the access to the other performers,
Mm-hmm.
and I've met so many cool people and had so many interesting little side conversations behind the festival stage. You know, somebody played something cool, and I asked them to show me what were you doing there, and those kind of things. You know, you don't just get those opportunities all that easy. But all of those organizations are good, and they have a good purpose. I think for the most part, you got to be operating at a little higher level in the food chain than I am to get most of the benefits.
That's true. That's a true statement, because depending upon let's say your intensity, right?
Yeah.
And as you're moving along and you've written so many songs and you're performing so many songs, and, you're either wanting to take another tangent or somewhere, a lot of times those things exist. And that's when people look out to say, you know what, I probably need to join a songwriters association or something like that. So that's why, and like not everybody does. Some, like you said, some that's, I'm to this point in stage, and that's great. I mean, if that's what it is, perfect.
Yeah.
But if you're an aspiring artist, or you're somebody that's thinking about, well, the next step for me, well, then there are some organizations that you could look into.
Well, I guess one other thought I just had on that, a different group of organizations, NSAI, local songwriter groups.
Right.
We have a Houston songwriters group. Lots of places have a songwriters group. The idea of getting together with other songwriters and showing each other what you've done, and taking all of your defensiveness away and let people critique your songs.
Right. Yes.
You have to go in with an open mind and with welcoming of critique, but that's one of the best things I've ever done. And every chance I get to sit down and play a new song for another songwriter and say, what do you think? I take it. And I just always hope they really tell me what they think.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a case in point. There you go. All right. So the next thing, I call this cutting through the fog. As a performer, artist, songwriter, whatever part that you're playing here, you're probably going to cross the path or the doorstep of another group, like recording or publishing or distribution or things of that nature. Kind of, if you can, maybe tell us kind of where you're at in that bubble of what you do and how you kind of walk through that.
Well, the easy answer is I'm a newbie to it. We mentioned earlier we've got one album out, and that was one huge learning curve for me, just to figure out, what do you do now after you finished it? Where do you even put it? Yeah. What do you have to do? How do you get a number assigned to your song so that you can put it on Spotify? And
all those codes, barcodes, and ISRCs.
ISRCs. So that's where I'm at. Is I'm fresh through the first trial by fire, and would say I've got a lot to learn.
Right. There is a lot to learn, and that's why I asked the question, because some people that like spit it out for you like this. But you do this, and they've already, because they've, like you said, trial by fire. They've already been through the fire.
They've been through it,
and they understand how to do that. And it can be a daunting situation at times. Okay, with that. The next question I ask is involved with media or marketing strategies that you feel works for you, or something that you would like to be doing, or what do you see out there that you just, where do you stand with that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'll start with talking about what I feel is an opportunity for improvement for myself.
Okay. All right.
The thing I've come to understand with the listening public these days, if they're going to listen online, they're most likely not. If I play to 20 new ears a week, that's a lot for me.
Right.
But you can, put zeros on that if you can get people to listen to your music online.
Right.
But they won't listen if they don't have something to watch these days. That's the biggest lesson for me, is you can't just put a song out there. You got to have pictures with it. You've got to have a story going on. And so now I'm just beginning to scratch the surface on how do I want to put together videos to go with the music. I can see that that's a good thing to do, but I just hadn't gotten over that threshold yet. That's my next frontier.
Well, I'll tell you what, buddy. You know you can count on me. I know where to go with that,
Well,
and I want to help you.
You showed me some things this morning that just blew my mind. I couldn't even have imagined them.
Well, you can count on me. If there's any part of that blank that you need filled in, let's just you and I. We'll get offline here and we'll sit and talk, and then I can help you. I'm willing to come to your hacienda and help you get where you need to be on.
Wonderful,
that, okay?
wonderful. Right? I never turn down good help.
All right. Well, let's talk about some industry changes and then things. You know, you and I have experienced the the heyday, and we'll go back into. I won't go all the way back, but you got the Ricky Van Sheltons and the Clint Blacks all the way back in there when the big mega stars started blooming, and all of that thing, and then now today, if we fast forward, as hard as we are here, and now we're streaming platforms is about, or live performance is about the only thing you have. Where do you see things going, or how do you feel like this thing is going to manifest itself later down the line?
Well, I definitely think that personal consumption of music is here to stay. Mm-hmm. People want to be able to sit down with their phone or their whatever their device is and consume music when it's convenient for them.
Right.
They may not want to go out to a bar. They may not want to go down to the local music venue and drop $20 or $30 tonight. They just want to hear some good music. So I think we're already seeing where it's going, and I expect that there's going to be more of that. What I worry about is it's creating an extreme upper end. Mm-hmm. The megastars will always have platforms and stadiums and things like that, but it's just less and less financially incentivizing for venues to have live music. They thankfully still are, but I'm afraid that that's getting fewer and further between. And
well, I think you and I both have already seen that in a way that, I mean, you kind of get in your head, well, I'd like to go play this place, and then when you finally either you step through the door, or then you find out what the deal to play there is, it's like, okay, I'm playing for tips again tonight.
I'm playing for tips again. Yeah. Well,
but there's reasons right behind all that. I get it.
I'm of course, wish that I would make more money at it. Don't make much. I make a little bit. And that's a good thing, but I think, just being able to play even without money is harder than it used to be.
Yes, you're right.
I was in Austin in the late 70s, and on any night that I felt the mood to go out and play for somebody live, mm-hmm. there were half a dozen choices.
Yes.
And I'd go walk in with my guitar and talk to the person in charge that evening, and he'd say, all right, well, come back at 10, come back at 11, and we'll put you up there for an hour. It was just easy. And it had always been that way, and that was the last thing I remembered when I kind of got out of playing, and when I got back into it.
A whole different world, huh?
That wasn't there anymore. Yeah, you couldn't just do that.
It is something. Maybe it's wishful thinking. Here's my thought, okay? And I'm probably wrong, but that's okay.
I'm hearing
the digital interface. The person sitting by the pool, or they're mowing the grass and they've got their earbuds in, and yes, that digital interface, they're experiencing music and great, and they're hearing you, hearing me, or whatever, at that case. And that is something that is, like you say, here to stay. I feel that the digital interface, it only goes so far. you don't have the camaraderie, the fellowship, the magic that you can have when you've got, let's say, that fun crowd, and you're putting some music out there, and they're being able to have that renaissance of having that live music and that meaning something. Like you said, Austin's a perfect situation there. How much was going on back in Austin in the day like that?
Yeah.
But somewhere, I think somebody's going to figure out, hey, we're missing the boat.
We're missing the boat. Well, I hope they do, because you don't have the person-to-person interaction.
Right.
And it's more than just listening to the song. It's
Right.
so much more.
Right.
Pick any live performance you've ever attended and listened to. The fact that you're seeing the person there and you're listening to them tell their story and set up their song, and maybe even seeing them make a mistake or two, and it's real, and
that's what I'm talking about.
You just appreciate it and feel it so much more, and you feel like you had an interaction with the artist as a listener, and vice versa as the artist. You feel like you had an interaction with these people, and that person-person interaction is just not possible. I don't care how good the video is.
Right.
So I hope you're right.
I feel that if that's, and I'm not talking about today, and I'm not probably talking about this year, but somewhere in the future, and I feel like that there's been a lot of digital interfacing going on here, and people are learning how to expand that bubble and make the most out of that. But if we go back and we take the live performance aspect of it and we open that bubble up a little bit, and now we learn to tie those together, I think the whole magic and music can come back.
Then you can get the full spectrum.
That's what I'm hoping. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I won't take up your time.
Well, I hope you're right. For anybody listening to this podcast, I would just encourage you to go out and listen to live music. If you're a music lover, go listen to it live. There's nothing better than that.
I agree. All right. So, as a performer, what do you do that you feel like really just works for you? How you play, or how you put it out there, or your interact. What is it that you do that you feel like just really, brings Dave to the table for somebody?
Okay. Well, first of all, you mentioned that I'm a storyteller. I am. I like to talk. I like to interact with people. That's the main reason I do this.
Right.
I love people. I love interacting, talking, visiting, and my wife has sign language for me to get me to go in and play the songs. She always sits at the back of the room, and when she starts doing this, rolling her fingers like that means, okay, play a song now.
The editor-in-chief is there, huh?
They didn't come to story hour, So
bless her heart.
But I like to set up the songs with stories. I like to create unique chord progressions and guitar parts. I love the instrumental side of music.
Okay.
And so when you marry those two things, something interesting on the instrumental side and something interesting on the vocal side, I think that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. Sounds like a deal. All right. What are your plans? Where are you headed with all of this? I know you said you're doing your album, your single thing, and what else you got going on out there?
We've got a lot of small venues and a few festivals lined up through the summer. I've got some travel plans. Going to be up in the Pacific Northwest for quite a bit of time. I've got one of my grandbabies up that way, so I'm trying to get a musical footprint established up there so I don't have to go into musical hiding or musical desert anyway,
right,
when I go up to visit. So I'm going to spend some time up there over the next few months trying to get my foot in the door, some of the venues up there. I've already met quite a few musicians and songwriters up there. It's a great music scene.
Right.
Up that way. So I think that's kind of my near-term goal, is try to get that as kind of alter ego to my Texas footprint so that I can go either place and find places to play.
Have guitar, will travel.
Have guitar, will travel. Anybody listening, if you got a venue or a house concert, or you want to sit in the backyard and hear some live music, just get in touch with me.
All right. Well, that'll work. Well, the next question is where are we going to see Dave pop up next? Where are you going to go, or what's here in the near horizon here?
Well, this weekend we're playing at the Woodlands Waterway Art Festival.
Okay.
That's Saturday, April 15th, 10 o'clock in the morning. So we're the early morning show, and I guarantee you we're going to wake them up. If they hadn't had coffee, they're going to need something to drink when we're done.
All right. Okay.
And that night we're playing down at Barbecue Place in the middle of Houston. And the next morning we're up and off to the Old Settlers Festival. We'll be there for a week. And then I'm leaving straight from there.
Now where is that festival at?
That's out near Tillman. But if you can just kind of draw a triangle that connects Austin to San Antonio to Houston.
Okay.
Connect those up and then put a dot out in the middle of it.
There you go.
That's where they're at.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any place else you want to mention that you're going to be out playing here recently?
Well, that's all we've got booked near term, because I've got all the Northwest travel going. But then we'll be back. We've got some festivals. Living down here in Texas, festival season, spring and fall. So
yes,
we try to book as many of those as we can.
Yes.
We'll have a little short tour through Colorado later in the summer.
Okay.
But I don't have the details worked out on what venues we'll be at.
Well, what's the best way for folks to find you or get in touch with you? Or
you can look up our live shows on YouTube by searching for Dave Becker Band.
Okay.
If you look for just Dave Becker, you'll get a good musician, but he's not me. He's a jazz guy out on the East Coast somewhere.
Okay.
So Dave Becker Band, if you're searching for me on YouTube, all of our first album is out on Spotify or all the streaming services, whatever one you use.
Okay.
And you can find me on social media at Dave Becker Band. And that's the easiest way to contact me.
Facebook is on
Facebook
page?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Dave Becker Band.
All right. Well, good deal. All right. Here's the $64,000 question, my friend. What's your advice to anyone that wants to be in music or in this industry or have a life here? What's your advice?
Go at it with all your heart.
Just get in it, huh?
Get in it. Go at it with all your heart. All the things that you'll tell yourself about why you can't do it or why you won't be successful are just wasting time. Get out there and get in it.
Well, you're exactly right. Exactly right. I have a few statements that I make at the end of these podcasts, and I make them wholeheartedly and heartfelt. First off, I want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me out.
You know what?
I'm glad we finally made it.
I've been impressed with you ever since I met you, but not from the music side to the friendship side. So I want to thank you for being here, and I want everybody to know how blessed they are to have you in their life, because I feel that way, and I know that other folks feel that way too.
Appreciate that.
Here's where I need to say that. I always want you guys on the other side of this camera to know it's what you do next is what makes the difference. Dave is going to continue to play, and he's going to continue to write songs, and he's going to be out there and doing what Dave does. But you heard a lot of things here today, and what we need to have happen is you on the other side of that camera. We need folks to subscribe to this channel. The reason that you subscribe to this channel so that you can be apprised of what's happening next. You can share that information. If you don't subscribe, it's going to pass you by like a thief in the night. You're not going to know anything that's going on. You're going to see that subscribe and like's going to be right here. And it's real easy to click a button and to help. So in essence, what you're doing is by subscribing to this channel, I've not asked for anything. I'm asking for the artist side. The reason that these people come in here is so they can tell their story. You can get to know who they are. Because in this world that we're in right now, that's part of it. As we discussed the digital interfaces and all the other things. But these are real people doing real music. And what happens is you folks out there, if you'll like and subscribe to this channel, and most of all, share. Copy the link. They'll be out on Facebook. They'll be on YouTube. But all you have to do is hit that, share that link, and send it on. Who knows what can come out of that? But it takes you folks out there. So if you will help us out with that like and share business, it's only all about the artist, the music, and helping out the industry. So you can do your part, and we would appreciate it. Okay. I always leave the show with this, and I know you know this as well as I do, that, positive affirmations, that our possibilities are endless and that our thoughts become our reality. And from what you said, I understand. And don't worry about the things that you can't control. There are things out there that's not in your power. But if you're doing what, like Dave said, just do it and be out there. Things will happen, and you'll find out that there's no need to control anything anyway. Just do the music, okay? So until next time, Mr. Dave Becker, Hank Flowers, we're going to leave you with it, and we appreciate you. So y'all be safe out there, and most of all, God bless you. And thanks for joining the podcast, and help us out if you can. Bye.
Adios.